Good afternoon. My name is Ben Belanger, and I'm the founder of Understudy. I'm here to tell you how and why Understudy plans to connect schools with outstanding substitute teachers. So first, my team. Myself, this is my second startup. My first business, Revive, is offering electronics repair currently in 60 schools from Maine to Pennsylvania. As for the rest of my team, we have some folks that have been involved with strategic management, as well as startups and disruptive educational businesses in the past. The problem that we're looking to address, currently an American student can expect to spend a full year of their education with a substitute teacher before they graduate. And as we all know, this is wasted time right now with movies and busy work. Only 10% of substitutes in the United States are actually trained before they enter the classroom. So this is a problem that we're looking to solve here. Schools are currently paying $4 billion a year in substitute teacher salaries, and that's before exceptionally high coordination costs of getting subs where they are and where they need to be. On an average day, we found from surveying local school districts, we got 72 responses from administrators and other educators in the New Hampshire area. Schools can expect to pull in between 5 and 6 substitute teachers. On a busy day, that's 10 or more. But the problem is that they're not currently able to fill these slots. We found that at Oyster River, currently they're not able to fill their paraprofessional roles. So students that need a one-to-one paraprofessional, they're not getting all the substitutes that they need. And so those students are forced to go through the day without their one-to-one aid. And in Nottingham School District down the road, they're using guidance counselors to fill these spots. So that's where Understudy comes in. Understudy would like to connect every school locally with a network of extremely qualified individuals that we get from external sources. And we'd like to fill that gap. So take a step back, what is Understudy and how do we plan to solve this problem? Understudy is building the largest network of substitute teachers in the United States. And we're going to enable schools to contact with this network through a web and mobile application. And that will become more apparent in just one second. Through talking to potential clients, there's 3 main clients that we're looking to solve their pain points. First off is the school district. We'd like to automate substitute hiring and coordination. This will save them an incredible amount of money every year. Thousands of dollars will be brought back into the school, and it'll make their job a lot easier. Number 2, teachers are looking to have their students actually taught during this time, and parents have the same expectations. So an Understudy substitute will be expected to facilitate real learning in the classroom. They'll have knowledge of the subject matter being taught. They'll be able to answer questions and be a real resource to students in that classroom. As for the administrators, such as superintendents, they really voiced concerns that they want to be able to look into their workforce. They want analytics, high level, as well as be able to compare that on a national and local basis regarding their absenteeism rates and how they're currently managing substitute teachers. So we plan to build out our network with 3 main sources. First off would be partnerships with local universities. This will give us access to thousands of individuals who are looking to become teachers or who have individual particular knowledge in the sciences, mathematics, or other key areas. And they are also someone that is looking for a little bit of a stipend to get through school. So that's someone to whom $100 really matters. So we're going to pull in partnerships with colleges to provide kind of access to our network, as well as retired teachers. They're someone that looking to get back in the classroom and make a meaningful difference, as well as current substitute teachers that are working for other school districts, based on a quality rating. Where Understudy excels is our skills-based matching algorithm. So that every Understudy or substitute teacher in our network has a particular set of skills, whether they can teach elementary school, middle school, science, math, and so we'd really like to get them into the classrooms where they should be to really help students and help them develop as an educator. So those who know chemistry will be in a chemistry class, ideally, through our system. To give you an example of how this works, I'll run through a quick example. Let's say that Walt here is a chemistry teacher and he knows he's going to be absent on December 1st. Walt could log into our Understudy app, schedule his absence, and our system knows his particular set of skills. He's a chemistry teacher. At that point, Understudy will take over, and we will find the most qualified individuals based on their location, their schedule, whether or not they're available at that time, as well as their skill set. So if this is someone that has experience in the sciences, particularly in chemistry, they would be the preferred substitute in this case. All available substitutes will be notified either through our understudy app or a text, which is pictured here, as well as phone calls to make it more personal. However, that particular individual wants to be contacted, they'll have the ability to either accept or pass on that opportunity. Of those who accept, we will make the most qualified candidate will be entering the classroom on that day. At that point, the sub will be notified of how to get to the school as well as lesson plans for that day, just at least a basic understanding of what they'll be doing in the classroom that day to improve the quality of education. At the end of the day, teachers and administrators will have the ability to go in and rate the substitutes based on the experience that they had. So a substitute with high ratings may receive a badge which will be displayed on their public profile. So here will be an understudy profile, and this is another added piece of value for those substitutes. So they'll have an online profile with their particular set of skills and certifications through understudy, as well as badges that they've earned over time. So this is a portfolio that they could bring to a potential job interview if they are graduating college. So this shows that where they kind of have had experience in the classroom. Understudy is a complete solution to the problem of staffing substitute teachers. Currently, we'll take control of interviews and hiring, so all substitutes in our network, we will take care of that. We also will take care of identity verification. We'll do background checks and all the required steps for all of our network schools, which includes background checks, interviews, as well as resume verification. And then the third piece, we will manage payroll. So we will pay our substitutes and receive a commission based on that from the schools as well as the substitutes. So as for competition, right now there is no direct competitor to understudy. However, there are 4 key areas where competition does lie. So that is in for and nonprofit training for substitutes, which is usually on online website, as well as personnel management software and substitute staffing agencies. Where all those are excelling right now is in their training, and some offer placement of a school's internal network of substitutes, but no one really is offering that network that understudy is. So in 2015, we'd like to develop a minimum viable product, and that's where our investment will come in. This is an internal network where schools can manage the current processes that they're going through, and it will allow them to really streamline their operations in that sense. In 2016, we'll come back with our first product, which is the understudy network. We'll show schools that we have a network of individuals who are more qualified than the substitutes that they have in their classroom, and they will be expected to pay if they'd like to access this network. In 2017, we would like to have developed Luminosity type trainings where understudies will have the ability to go in, take short quizzes to prove that they are capable of teaching individual classes. This will also help develop their online profile as it showcases their skills. There's 3 revenue streams, as I mentioned. The network revenue will be coming in 10% from the substitute and 10% from the school. So this is based on similar business models such as TaskRabbit, where we'll be taking in a percentage of the fee. And there's an additional premium as understudies really are more qualified than a traditional substitute. Software licensing fees for those schools that aren't looking to access our network of substitutes, they'll be expected to pay a software licensing fee. As well as certification. We're looking to monetize the online training piece of this to bring in an additional revenue stream. So we're asking for $225,000. That will cover wages and benefits of a developer, as well as administrative resources, and all the network, the information that we need to get our app up and running. By 2018, we are looking to break even, and that only requires having 12 customers in the network. And we are looking for this funding specifically through grants, partnerships, and outside investment. We have identified a few sources such as the Retired Teachers Pension Fund, as well as a few other individuals groups that would provide some grants or partnerships to help develop understudy. And on that note, I'd like to open up the floor to questions.
I was curious about how, and I apologize if I missed this, how does the school reach out to that individual substitute? How is that communication line happening? Because a lot of times it's a half an hour before the class starts. Can you imagine that?
Sure. So the way that that would work, we also, so as for advanced notice, a teacher will log in and submit an absence through our app. For an immediate need, the school will have access to either call, understudy, or if an administrator would like to go in, they can schedule that absence, and we'll have people full-time staffed in order to take care of those last-minute.
And you're
situations.
setting the fee for all substitutes at a standard rate? Is that the idea, is that why you're taking on the payroll function?
Yes. So every match we will take in a standard rate, and the schools will have the ability to determine what they'd like to pay substitutes. So say Oyster River down the road would like to offer any substitute $75. They will, that's incorporated into their end of the app. And so our 20% piece of that is just dependent on the school's rate. So they'll be able to decide their own rate.
And are you paying them as independent contractors, or are you actually doing the whole, complex?
We are paying them as independent contractors.
So you won't margin yourself on their labor, or you will?
What was it?
Are you margining yourself on their labor?
Can you-
You'll be, the schools will be paying you and you'll be paying the teachers, and it'll be just a flow through?
Exactly. So every month we collect from the school. So we will be paying the substitute based on a biweekly schedule, and then we'll collect from the school at the end of that month anything that they owe us for that month.
So I'm curious as to why a teacher's gonna be allowed to go and, next week, I know it'll be that Wednesday, I get to go do this, I don't have to run it through my principal or administrator who does this? Why is it you want the teacher to list it?
Sure. So that takes up the substitute coordinator position right now, which is a full-time position that schools are usually paying. This person usually has another full-time role in the school, so taking away that position doesn't eliminate someone in the school, it just eliminates an added cost and frustration. So having this teacher submit the absence, there could be an approval process where after they submit that absence, an administrator will be able to go and approve that. But having the teacher do it eliminates that need for the coordinator at least.
Is there a reasonable geographic limit for how far substitutes would actually go to get to a school? In other words, that you might have a need in a school that's 50 miles away. Is that even an option for you to have that in your network and then say you have to drive that far to get to the school?
Sure. So in the sign-up process, substitutes will select the schools that they're willing to work for, and they would have to be approved by all those schools ahead of time
Right.
in order to go to that school. So there would be no expectation for them to go outside of their comfort zone or ability to travel.
Right. And then currently, some school systems might believe they do a very good job in cultivating their subs. Is that, have you seen that to be true, that there are some school systems that just have the best quality subs and others that don't?
Absolutely. I had an interesting experience through interviewing different schools, and some schools really have an incredibly challenging time getting substitutes in there, but some do have an excellent network. And for those schools that have the excellent network, they can still use their own substitutes. They would just be licensing our software to kind of streamline that job of the substitute coordinator. But for those schools that are having a challenging time, which is 96% of schools can't fill that role right now, they can access our network of subs.
Will the school pay, will the school have to sign some kind of non-compete or something like that? They can't hire the sub, decide they really like them, and then continue to use that person's labor? Is there like a time frame that falls out? Any thoughts on that?
Absolutely. We're considering kind of a non-compete agreement, but currently we're just looking to kind of give substitutes a reason not to do that, with keeping their online profile, keeping access to other schools. So, theoretically they could do that, especially a school that's operating with this understudy software. It'd be much more challenging to switch.
Some schools do operate that way, where they vet their subs to become full-time teachers, but they rate the subs and they say, wow, this person is really great, let's try to hire them full-time. So they might meet them through you because you have a qualification program.
Yeah.
Now, has it occurred to you that it might be easier running a major company than it would be to go before a school board and get them to change their practice? I imagine you would have to sell a school based on school board approval, I would think.
Exactly. So what we found was that the majority of the schools, this comes down to the superintendent's decision and their advice to the school board. And superintendents that I spoke to said that if you can eliminate that substitute coordinator role, then you have my attention. This is something that it's kind of selling itself because schools need it. You know, they're trying to fill it right now, but they can't fill these absences. So, you know, I suppose, yeah, that's
So
probably the easiest.
right now, liability would rest with the school board, so District 86 or whatever it would be. In this case, are you taking on the liability for, you know, potentially a bad apple as one of your subs that does something they shouldn't do?
So that's a risk that, you know, that we're facing right now, but we're kind of trying to really make sure that every substitute is thoroughly vetted. So that involves, you know, a personal interview as well as background checks, and so we have to, you know, check our sources just as much as schools are doing right now, and make sure that these people are able and safe to be in schools. So yes, we are taking on that liability. However, we're looking to minimize that as much as possible.
Is one of your premises that there are a lot of subs out there that haven't been able to connect with the schools in some way, shape, or form that you're gonna find them and basically bring them to the school districts where they're not connecting themselves right now very efficiently?
Sure. So I think that the problem really is that there are individuals who are qualified to be a substitute teacher who may have an opening, you know, a position that they could take a job, especially out of college, but they aren't either aware of it or the job itself is not attractive to them. So we're kind of trying to make that more attractive, you know, really give them some incentives to join. And so I think that, you know, especially with partnering with universities, there's a real opportunity there.
So you'd have to basically go out and find people that might meet these criteria and that need the work and basically make offerings.
So the goal would be to
increase the pool basically for
Yeah.
the region.
Absolutely, and so the goal will be to partner with, like, say, the UNH education program for masters, junior, senior level students,
There you go.
and then, you know, provide them as resources to Dover School District, Oyster River, Portsmouth, all these local schools who aren't able to fill those spots right now.
Gotcha.
So you mentioned a software fee that they're paying, so it's an annual fee?
So that's dependent on whether or not they're using the understudy network. So for those schools that just want to be able to really, if you know they believe in their substitutes and they want to be able to manage them without having to bring out a pen and pad and cold call a list of subs every morning, they just want to be able to use our automated notification system. There's a software license associated with that.
And that has no bearing on how big the school is, it was a flat fee, if I remember right.
So the approximate fee I have in my financials there, but it is based on the number of teachers in that school.
Okay.
So
Because an SAU might want it, so there might be 10 schools in that SAU, or 6. Or it might be just a small little independent school in Maine, which all by itself, so it's very different depending upon where you are, right?
absolutely. Yep.
And so if a teacher wants to participate in the site, there's no cost to him or her and no expenses related to the background checks or anything. It's very seamless from that end, so.
Yes. So the goal would be to get as many people who are interested to sign up, and then from there we can find the interest levels and then choose those individuals who we want to invest in for their background check, et cetera.
And then do you have a larger scale piece for maternity leave? Because that can be anticipated and that's a longer term deal, so you build that into this as well?
Absolutely, and that's something that was brought up by a lot of teachers. You know, they want to be able to choose who's going to be taking their spot to make sure their students are getting an adequate education. So definitely there'd be an ability to find at least a long-term sub who it wouldn't be, you know, one person one day. It would be a continual job. So yes.
Any other questions from Judge?
Just one. Is there any,
Still have time, just to make sure, yeah.
Okay.
is there any endorsement angle, you know, from the standpoint of establishing credibility? You know, again, I'm thinking of the decision maker being the school board, that'd love to be able to hide behind some endorsement and some pass-through of liability. And I think those things would motivate them more than eliminating one position.
Yeah.
And particularly school districts that have a fair amount of money. Some might be motivated only on money, but I don't think that they would make a decision just on money.
Absolutely. So we're exploring the possibility of endorsement from a teachers union. So this would really, substitutes themselves, we found, are looking to be viewed as more than a substitute teacher. They want to be viewed as a potential teacher. So bringing them into the realm of the teachers unions would give them more credibility, and it would also give us more credibility as well. So by partnering with a teachers union, we could guarantee that substitutes will be treated correctly, and potentially both sides could gain from that.
Is there, each school has a flat fee and they are stuck with it, that's all they're allowed to pay? Or could somebody say, yes, I'll accept that job, but I need a little bit more money, now do you play negotiator and help them with that? Or in the other case of maybe somebody who's young, who just graduated with their new degree, I'm gonna be a teacher, but I have nowhere to go. I wanna get in everywhere I can and I'll reduce my rate because I want as much exposure to hopefully get hired by the school later?
Sure.
Can you adjust your pricing that way?
I think that that's definitely possible. I know that within schools, I don't think that they can go over a certain threshold. I believe it's an approved rate in their budget. However, if there's some flexibility to go under, to be brought up in, a match higher, I think that that's certainly something that we can explore. I'm not sure if there's a huge interest there, but, I'd be willing to
Well, the young ones that have their degree that don't have the opportunity yet,
Mhm.
that didn't get hired that first semester out of school, want a job and want to get in the door somewhere, and they have their favorites that they want to be recognized in, so they might be a lot cheaper.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would be an added benefit to the school as well.
But I'm reading here that you would take 5% of the daily income for the understudy, right?
Sure, so that,
And then the school will kick you back 5, so that 10's gotta come 5 out of one pocket, 5 out of the other.
that's correct.
And basically, that makes sense under that condition. The opportunity isn't there, but not to somebody who's currently getting a phone call
Mhm.
from the school, but there's shortages, and so that's basically where you're meeting